This is about how I got over my needle and blood phobia. I've had this kind of phobia since I was about 11. I had a really adverse reaction to some injections I was given at the time. I fainted, I collapsed, it was really horrible. And I think subconsciously since then my body has always kind of anticipated having that same kind of response again. So every time I went to have a blood test it would be an absolute disaster in a sense, because my body would, have these responses, and it would be really unpleasant, like I would faint and things like that. So I heard about like CBT blood phobia sessions or courses that were able to help you get over this. So about a year ago I tried it, and it has helped me to manage my my needle and blood phobia. So I am really happy with that, and it's actually helped me so much that even now, this year, I was able to inject myself, for about 2.5 months every single day. And to think that a year ago, I couldn't even, I would get like a racing heart, and I'd feel nauseous, and my hearing would go just as soon as a needle would come out and I knew I had to have an injection, to being able to inject myself daily is a very big step. So graded exposure works. It works in it being able to manage your symptoms, and what it does, it starts out by, it exposes you to say your phobia actually gradually. So you start off by looking at a few words, like needle, blood, etc. You look at that for a week, for about 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. Look at those words, notice what responses it triggers in your body. Then in the second week you move on to listening to descriptions of needles, blood, etc. Again daily for about 20 minutes a day. And then in the third week it moves on perhaps to watching blood tests or videos of people having their blood taken, things like that. And it goes on. So for me also, at a certain point I was told to go and see a nurse who talked me through blood tests, having your cannula put in, what happens, really describing it. So that was another point in my exposure. The final exposure for me, after that I was also given some needles to take home to play with, as it were. The final thing for me was recreating this scenario for me to, when I would go to have a blood test or a cannula inserted, recreating everything from the waiting room, the temperature, the sounds, the environment, etc. The main thing that a graded exposure gave me is knowing that the physical symptoms of the physical response that I would get, yes, it would peak, but it would also come down. So when I would go and have my blood test done, for example, when I was having it done, or even before the needle actually goes in, I would maybe lose my hearing or start to feel like I was going to faint, right? But then the difference that graded exposure gave me was like knowing that those symptoms would come down. I wouldn't carry on feeling that way and then the situation would somehow explode or I would faint terribly. Those feelings would subside, and they did. I have had many opportunities since my CBT course to actually put this into practice. I've had many blood tests, etc., many cannulas, and what I noticed now in the situations is, I will go there, I will feel the physical response, the clamminess, all that stuff, the faint, lightheadedness and all that, but it will come down, and I just need to stay in the situation and it will be okay. Once or twice I've had rather not a very good cannula experience, or mainly with cannulas actually in my case, simply because I have very small veins and often they can't get the cannula in the first time. They have to keep trying, and sometimes put my hands in hot water and all that stuff to try to open up my veins. So I did have one experience this year where that just got too much and I did actually start to faint. But then again, even in that scenario, the CBT does help, because that those feelings, the anxiety feelings, the physical anxiety feelings, will come down. So even though you're fainting, you kind of know just stay in the situation. You know, it will come down. I think that's the main thing I got from it. And then also being able to inject myself this year for, say, 2.5 months, self-inject. I mean, for me that was a very big step. And I am really happy now, actually, that I've kind of not conquered it, but been able to manage this unreasonable phobia, as it were, to the extent that, you know, I can just handle needles and inject myself. You know, I only had to do it for about 2.5 months, but still, I'm really glad that I was given that experience, that opportunity. So in a nutshell, I would say that CBT and graded exposure for my needle and blood phobia really helped me. So that was my experience. Interestingly enough, for me, my phobia is with needles and blood if it's in relation to myself. I don't mind seeing blood or seeing other people really like injected with needles and stuff, because that's on them. It's only really for myself that I would get these feelings of faintness and nausea and stuff. I think it's maybe because you don't have the control over you know, whether you're ready to have the injection, or, you know, the control is kind of out of your hands. And for me that would be kind of the trigger. Whereas, you know, my friend's finger got cut off and I was able to reattach her finger, no problems. And this was even before I ever did the CBT course. So it just shows in a way how unreasonable, in a sense, my blood phobia, my needle phobia was, because it really was only my own blood and my own like needles, my own blood test that I couldn't stand. So yes, graded exposure works.